Welcome back, film lovers. This is the second part of my tutorials on the Pakon Nexlab F135. My name is Savo, and perhaps you watched the first part of the tutorial, which basically dealt with installing a virtual machine for running the Pakon. So if you're at that point and haven't installed your Windows XP, go back, check out my other video on installing. And now in this tutorial, we're gonna cover basically the software which comes for the Pakon. And at this, we gonna cover a few points like removing the firmware dialog that pops up on every startup, perhaps if you didn't know how to disable that. Then removing the IQueue startup, which doesn't serve any sense for home use. Then we're gonna talk a little bit about the PSI easy advanced interfaces. How do I get a scan basically? And perhaps I'll share a few thoughts on editing the products for the nowadays home use, because you wouldn't burn like a photo CD or something. And then we switch from the PSI, the Pakon scanner interface, to the TLX client and see how we can actually scan 16 base, that means full resolution, on the non-plus version of the F135, which basically makes it a F135 plus. And we're gonna see how we're gonna be scanning panoramic views, like from X-Pan or from Horizon 202 or from any non-standard format of film. So let's get started. I got my scanner connected to my virtual machine, and the first thing you probably want to do after you installed is scan your first film. So I start up the PSI, and this is basically your all-day scanner software. And as you see, nothing is really happening for me. And here on IQueue, on the taskbar, there's a software that doesn't really look like a scanning interface. And this is basically the order software. So I want to exit this, and to my taste, you don't need this for home use. And I hope this doesn't happen for everyone, but in my case, on all three PCs, I installed the software. I click on exit and it asks me if I want to close, and I say yes, and it doesn't. So I have to kill the process, which is named IQueue3. It closes down, it's timed out, and then the actual PSI interface is coming up. So we're gonna see how to disable this in a minute. But then if you start PSI, a next dialog comes up, which is asking you that if you want to update the firmware, and it may be out of date. So yeah, it's an old scanner, but there is no newer firmware, and this comes up every time. So doesn't depend on what you're clicking here. I say yes. And next time, trust me, it will be back again. So we're gonna see how to disable those two. The first one, the IQueue software, which can be launched by view order status in the down left corner. We can disable this by going to, in the PSI, going to setup, IQueue, and then deselect auto start IQueue. So this is the first step. I don't need this. Obviously, you wouldn't, if you would need this software, you won't disable it, but I don't know why you would need it in the first place. So, okay. And we close down PSI and see if it comes up right again. And now this IQueue stuff isn't coming. And it's initializing. Yeah. So if you would restart the scanner now and the software, it would ask me again for the firmware update. It does this basically every time you initialize the scanner. So at this point, I want to disable this. I started it again, and now because the scanner is already initialized, it doesn't come up. but you would disable it by going to All Programs, Pakon, go to the firmware loader, and this is important, I guess. Don't close the PSI software in the background. You go to firmware loader, click OK. You don't have to read this. It doesn't do anything because we don't have a firmware file. Click OK. Checks for the scanner. Then it says the PSI is currently using the scanner, and now you can close it. Or at least it didn't work the other way for me. So I click retry. It is initializing, updating the firmware, which it actually doesn't. And now you can click OK. And from now on, even if you restart the PC, restart the scanner, this do you want to update the firmware dialog doesn't appear. So we got this out of the way, and now we're gonna change the settings of PSI to mimic the usual stuff you want to do every day. Scan your images and save them to the hard disk. As you know, the PSI was a professionally used scanner, so the software is kind of a kiosk style software with printing, burning pictures, CDs and everything. And I will now firstly change the behavior of the software to cut it down to just scanning to hardware, to the hard drive. So we're gonna go to setup and go to general, and there's something called products, and there are a lot of products like CDs and prints, and we're gonna disable everything, so we won't print and we won't burn CDs, I guess. Just leave save as. And when I click OK, you saw at the bottom all this print quantities and stuff disappears. And I will now add a role from scanner, which basically means scan now. So we are presented with this dialog. The role ID is kind of a unique descriptor for this scan session. You pick which film you are scanning, the resolution. As I'm running a non-plus version, PSI offers 4 base and 8 base, which means 8 base being the higher resolution. So I will always leave this at 8 base. Then it asks for the number of strips. Do you want to have a single strip or multiple strips? And if you select multiple, there is the setting for how many frames you will have per strip. I have 4, so I leave this as 4. And here's the digital ICE, which means image correction and enhancement. So this is a dust and scratch removal. I will leave this on. Just a hint. This doesn't work for black and white film, at least not for traditional black and white film. So if your scans come out crazy, just disable this for black and white. So I go to OK, it's preparing to scan, and I will scan this roll and be back when it has finished. So as you see, there are some images now shown of my cat, Miao Zedong. And one of the frames was blank out of some reason, camera wise or something, and it already just disabled this and just threw it away. That's fine. And now you see this second image is rotated. So by clicking on the image, you basically select it, and I could rotate this picture for export. I could also double click on the image, and then I have this in full view, and with the previous and next buttons you could just switch between the frames you have scanned. And I'm gonna take this, and at this point you could also edit the picture, and there you have the basic brightness, contrast, color correction. And here you got even more edits, like the black and whites effect is cool for scanning black and white film, because it would kind of come out tinted. And for black and white, I usually go for cool, because that got no color information in it. So, but at this time I go to none. At this you can change the preview size if you got more, or yeah, you get the point. And if you don't want to have an image, it's defocused, you already scanned it or something, you can reject it and it won't be incorporated in your final scan or export. So yeah, but I'll accept this, and now we have to export those images. We could do this by going to setup, package, and run package 1. And now this package, as you would call it, is exporting. And you could pick some image. Someone's launching fireworks out there. I don't know why. It's not even close to some celebration day here, but yeah. So you pick like an icon for this, give it a name, and I'll name it save to disk. And tick the save as, and you see setup comes available. I click on setup, and now it's calling for naming of pictures, the root directory, and you can change this once. The next time it will go back to C program files, Pakon, PSI. I will show in a minute how you can change this, like with a hack someone shared with me in the Facebook user group. So I go to, just leave it. It's okay for me now. You could also save this as raw. I will not cover this topic because it's pretty much advanced. And you could go to image settings, use scanned resolution to use the highest resolution you have there, and pick your compression. I will leave JPEG, but go for 100%, and you see it's estimating a file size. Yeah, okay. Let's do this. And at this point, I could go to run, the run icon, run package 1, save to disk. You see it's saved. I click this and it's exporting the images now. And I can already go to the folder I'm saving to. Program files, Pakon PSI, and you see I got an images folder now. No, here it's AA01, and I got my images saved to the disk. So now, as I said, there is a hack to change the root directory where your scans always will go. If you don't need this, just skip this part. And we're gonna go to setup package 1. And here, let's say we're gonna go to C, just for why this is necessary. I don't know why the software works like this, but it's okay. Root directory C, okay. And for this session, all scans would be saved in the root of C. We're gonna close this software, just restart it. And C, package 1, setup, and it has changed back to program files. That's pretty much very tedious to always, every time, change to the folder you want to go. So we're gonna change this by closing down the software. And in Windows here, yeah, I'm sure, here in Windows, go to Run. And type regedit. It's registry editor. Click enter, and as you see, I will close it down so you know where I'm going. Usually will be presented by this root view, and you go to H key local machine, software, Pakon, PSI, setup. And here you have a key called program path. And this basically says where the root is. As we already have installed the folder or the software into this folder, it's no problem to change it now. So you go to program path, and I have now made a folder called Pakon scan on my Z drive. So where you want your files to go, just click OK. Close down this registry editor of Windows. Then go to PSI. And let's see at package 1, save as, setup. It's C Pakon scan now. And this will stay like this, so you don't have to change it every time. Now I will shortly cover the easy order, or it's called easy order interface. You reach this by this button, or here by tools easy order. It's kind of a reduced, yeah. It's kind of a reduced version of the normal interface. So you go here, it asks for a password, and there is none. Just click OK. So you see this obviously is optimized more for touch screens. And I will pick some role ID here, just so I can identify. Careful with this, it really shuts down the system, or the VM in that case. Go to next. You see our package saved to disk has been saved also for the easy order. Go to next, select the source media, and you see it's pretty sophisticated. You could also change that, but yeah, if you you go to the normal interface and just go to setup easy order. I will leave that at 35 millimeters, go to OK, negative, single roll or cut strips. I go for cut strips. Resolution, that's pretty much always 8-base because you want probably the highest resolution your scanner can get. Use digital ICE and then scan your film. I won't do this again. Yeah. So at this point, this would have scanned your images, and as you see, there's no packages or something folder or icon. You can change all your stuff and then in the end go to submit order, and it would save all the images to the C Pakon scan folder that we defined earlier. So that is the easy order. I usually use this because it's more convenient and easy. So in the beginning of this video, I stated the non-plus version scans at full resolution like the plus version, and it also scans panoramic, and it does it, but not via the PSI software, but by some software that came with the installation we did in the first part. To launch it, it's TLX client. Just go to all programs, Pakon, and TLX client demo. So this can't be maximized, and it's ugly. No, it's not ugly. It's basic. So you just could go to scan film, and it asks you for which film, negative, and here there's base 16, and it really works. So I will cover both parts in once here. I have now some panoramic images in my video, and the scanner will scan those now at base 16. So I'm saying I'm scanning a single strip at base 16. I'm using scratch removal. This is the digital ICE, and you could run all kinds of tests. I won't do it. I just click on scan, and the scanner will run up, and I will be back in a minute when the strip has scanned. So the scan has finished on the scanner, but there's no dialog or something telling me that. What you want to do now, as it has scanned, click here on Move Oldest Role in Scan Group to Save Group. And it says that it's good. And here it says warnings, but that's okay. Just click OK. And I see a part of the strip. So as those were panoramic images, the software doesn't know how to crop them automatically. So we go to framing, adjust cropping, and it says, where do I start on the left? Where do I and on the right. So if I go to like 3000 here, hit apply, in the background you see there's my friend Patrick coming up there, and I could narrow down somewhere where I want to go. So and as this panoramic, it's very wide. Okay, there's an easier solution I just found out, and some people at the group said that's cool, so I want to share it with you. I go to framing, adjust cropping, leave left as 0, and right I go for like 5 times 9, and that's too much because the strip isn't as wide. So I go to apply, and then it tells me right cannot be greater than 1520 Okay, that's the maximum resolution of the strip, and that's what I want. So I go here for 15255, go OK. And as you see, I have the whole strip with 3 images now. And this strip I will export and crop in an external application like Photoshop or OrphanView. I will cover this with OrphanView free software in a minute. So the directory at my PC is Pakon scan. Save. Yeah, nothing more to do, just click save. And it asks you the current picture only. That's cool. Original -width. Also cool. No rotation. I always keep this scene balance, color correction. And it asks you for a type of save operation. And that's not to client memory, that's to disk. And now this comes available, JPEG. I go for 100% JPEG and leave that empty. Go to OK. And now you see scan is idle, save is actually saving the image. And I will go to my Pakon scan folder. So as you see, there's the image now. And it's ridiculously huge. As you can tell, 15K width and 2000 height resolution image. So we will take that to our real PC. I won't do that in the virtual machine because it's low powered and it got Windows XP running. So I will just copy that to my real machine and show you how to cut it up with OrphanView. And if you're not interested in that part, as you use Photoshop or something, I say bye to you, but see you in the next part of cutting that strip up. So for the last part, we're now gonna cut up the strip from the panoramic horizon camera. And to do this, we're gonna use a free software called OrphanView. You can get it at orphanview.com, or you could use Photoshop or something, but I like this version. I got Photoshop, but that's so fast and so convenient, so yeah. Just install it, and I'm gonna go to the strip and open it, and you see it's massive. It got like 15,000 pixels in width, and I'm just gonna zoom in to show there's Patrick again. Hi there. And at this point we're at full resolution now, and this shows how 16 base 16 and panoramic camera are really a good way with the Pakon scanner. So at this point, I'm gonna zoom out and I show you how to very fastly cut up the strips. So I click in the image and go to Control A for selecting the whole strip. And now you see there's kind of a selection dragger, and I drag it from the right to the left, just somewhere here. And on the left I cut out the black bar, let it go, press Ctrl Y, and I cut it out. And now usually I would go for Ctrl S to save it, but to show you could just save it where you want, obviously, and do your first time settings and it will remember those. So then I go with Control Z, I go back, go to A to get the full height. That is why I'm calling Control A. The second one, Control Y, save it, Control C to go back, and the last one, and go to Control Y, save it, and that's it. So that's pretty much the fastest thing I know. Using scripts is also an option, but then again, you don't know where the strip is cut, perhaps by your lab and stuff. So I use this. If you think it is cool, just use it also. So this concludes the tutorial, the software part tutorial on the Pakon scanner. I hope you enjoyed it and you learned something. My name is Sabo, and yeah, see you around. Have a good day. Happy scanning.